To be our best, we need to stay up to date on the latest and greatest. That includes being equipped with prime tools and gear. That's where Shieldbox comes in. It's a monthly subscription box designed specifically for law enforcement professionals. Each month, you'll get a curated box of duty gear and supplies from industry leaders. Sign up today at theshieldbox.com and use code BLUEGRIT to save $10 on your first box. Welcome to Blue Grit Radio, the podcast that explores making better cops for a better community. I'm your host, Eric Tung. I've been an active police officer since 2007. We will dive into the aspects of police culture, health and wellness, leadership, and mindset. You'll hear from experts not only from policing, but all industries as they relate to being our best with purpose, passion, and positivity. Join me as we share stories, lessons, and advice so we can all be better for ourselves, our teams, our families, and our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of Blue Grit Radio. This is still your host, Eric, and I'm super excited. There's been a little bit of anticipation, at least for me, coming up to this episode. It is episode 200, 200, and yeah, it's quite a few. It's kind of been a blur in some ways, but I just wanted to share a few things, reflections, lessons learned, and some insights as we come up on this somewhat natural stopping point to look and reflect. And I suppose a nod to my buddy Alex, like it was actually quite a while ago where he asked if I ever just kind of take pause and stock on where I've come from, what I've done in this career or alongside this career with this project, whether it's writing, whether it's getting published in articles and just trying to spread some more positive and constructive messages and ideas, and through the show and through just Blue Grit content in general. And I appreciate the nod and the nudge. And oftentimes it is hard, I think, for so many of us just to take stock, to take inventory. You know, shout out to Joey, 9mm Musashi, who's been on the show a couple times. But that pause, that gratitude is extremely crucial. And I think it's worth saying so much because so many of you all are very go-getter types, very performance and achievement oriented, myself included. And so we can oftentimes lose ourselves unintentionally with just all the juggling of things. And they're not just bad things, right? They're sometimes really awesome things like career, other projects, passions, hobbies, family, parenting. I mean, if any parents out there know that it can be a grind, and I can only imagine, right? Like I have one kid and many of you have many kids and many other responsibilities. And so all to say that while all those things can absolutely be blessings and absolutely be amazing contributors to your life, we do need to be intentional about just hitting that pause button, even for a few moments every now and then. And so building that into a daily or weekly routine is something I'm a huge, huge advocate of. And I do find myself that if I slip away from that, pretty quickly, I will find myself feeling overwhelmed and angsty. And so that is something that I've literally been working on and working through in the last couple weeks. And so, kind of a testament to all the things that a lot of really prolific, innovative, amazing contributors and thought leaders that have been on the show have shared from their personal anecdotes, from their professional insights. You're just really honing in on this whole notion and importance of wellness as you interpret it. And I think so much of interpreting it is realizing how context-based it is. And to be doing our best in that, we need to continue to stay open-minded to new things, new modalities, new ideas. And so again, that is a huge piece of this whole project. When I look at this whole project, being Blue Grit, not just Blue Grit Radio, but the content, website, and now we have the newsletter. So if you haven't subscribed, then please do that. That is a free deal. Just go to bluegritwellness.com, and it's a breakdown of essentially what's been going on in the week as far as the podcast, some recaps, some other thoughts that are really only shared there as far as learnings and ideas that I've come across that I want to kind of spit back at you for some bouncing around for you and your people. But it's really just a gratitude. I mean, I'm so grateful to have this, I suppose, platform, but also to have this space where it is a continual process of this nerding out, this geeking out, this deep dive into all these things, whether it's culture, mindset, wellness, leadership, ownership, self-development, team development, that you all have come along with me and certainly contributed toward. It's not just you giving your questions and feedback. It's not just you sharing it out. It is truly this harmonious relationship where all of you are actively contributing back. And I'm very, very appreciative of you sharing that time and space and place on all of this. I think so much that this project has continued to evolve because I and you continue to evolve as well. I mean, we're all getting older as the days go by. And so we should be changing, we should be growing, we should be adapting. And with that, I've continued to reflect back on what the purpose of Blue Grit was. And is really multi-pronged, right? Is to have positive, meaningful conversations. It's to nudge and encourage those that are following, especially first responders who need it so badly. And I see that from a place of having been there numerous times where I've been at some really hard times and lower points. And I really credit all these quote unquote wellness factors and intricacies as helping me through that. And that sometimes was really, really all on the fitness piece. And sometimes it was really all on relationships, friendships, my family as helping me through that. And then sometimes it was just pausing, right? Like I was speaking about earlier, just taking that time and reflecting, writing out some ideas, talking things out with a loved one, with a buddy, with a therapist. These are all different modalities that can and should be applied and toggled differently based on you and your time. And so really that's what it's all about. Like how can we get better? And for me, through the perspective oftentimes coming back to first responder work because it's something that I have lived and know very deeply. It does have carryover to a lot of general life stressors just because first responder life, although extremely unique, it is essentially a breeding ground for needing, like requiring that investment in stress management, or it'll truly corrode us and eat us up alive. So back to a positive point. There are so many lessons that I appreciate just being able to be a part of and somewhat facilitating through this show. I feel very excited to continue to be the student wearing the student hat with people that come on. And a lot of that, again, is prompted from your shares, your encouragement, people that you want to have on that you've suggested to me, and prompts, ideas, questions. So keep that coming, whether it's through Instagram at Blue Grit Wellness or bluegritwellness@gmail.com. So yeah, all of that. It's been fantastic. Another piece, kind of flipping on the positive side is recognizing like the negative side. And I've already said that this career can be so corrosive. If we leave it to, I guess, to default, we are surrounded by just bad things happening, right? I'm not trying to doom and gloom, but the nature of emergency response, public safety is there's an emergency happening. And those generally are stressful, not good things, even if they're accidents, right? Like vehicle or industrial accidents, medical emergencies, right? For the EMS, fire side, fantastic, amazing response and action often come from that. But in that, it's very natural to go into cynicism, negativity, toxic kind of mindset and mentality. So recently, I think in the effort of staying objective for myself and then also being mindful on how, what I learned from this and kind of play it back, but going through a different level and a different flavor of scrutiny towards what I'm doing here, we'll call it a complaint for lack of better words, but having to navigate that has proven to be more challenging and more stressful than I had originally thought. I think oftentimes we can know our purpose and we can be very intentional and very, I suppose, purpose bound, very self assured in what we're doing, why we're doing it and how we're doing it. But oftentimes that stressor can inject this amount of self-doubt or self-critique, kind of this like a neurotic angstiness. And so while I was contending with that, I realized that I was so frustrated, right? I was frustrated that I was giving it so much attention and burning so much energy and angst towards this thing. It took a bit of time, right? Like a couple weeks to process, kind of talk it through, journal, and then reflect on what is this thing and what is it teaching me? What is it teaching me in this moment? Like, what can I learn from this? And what insecurities is it exposing? And then circling back to, again, your why. So for my why, like my purpose and why I'm doing this thing, although it wasn't like a quick flip of a switch, it took some time, it took some work, it took some help, certainly from some of the people closest to me, kind of to bounce some things around and be validated and motivated and inspired, reinvigorated. And so I'm not slowing down. I'm doing my thing because I truly believe in it. I believe in the value of it. And I hear that. It is helpful to hear back, how it's dramatically helped people. And it's part of the message. It's part of I suppose, the movement of a lot of people out here in the space trying to, as much as the haters and doubters are so pervasive out there, trying to be a positive voice, contribute towards this positive momentum, because it takes a lot of us and it's a fight worth fighting. So again, that's just a bit of a share on how it's okay to be frustrated, how it's okay, although I often talk about stoicism and these stoic philosophies, remove yourself from the emotion and focus on your locus of control and not all the noise and stuff and the clutter that you don't have direct control or access over. It is easier said than done. But with that, with practice, with actual intention and kind of sitting down and grinding it out and mapping it out, that's what it takes. And it's not going to be pretty all the time. And I like to think that looking back on this moment of time, it's going to be dramatically easier the next time something like this or a new thing in its own right pops up its ugly head. And I have these reps, I have the practice of getting through frustrating, kind of mentally, I suppose, annoying little processes. So there's that. With all that going on and taking pause and taking stock, and some of that's stuff at work, some of that stuff's outside of work, just all the things are lining up, all the positive intentions and people and passion and directions are all kind of coming together. I think that it's worth saying, not because, hey, look at me, but for all those out there listening in, I think that that's a valid example and comparison for when you face that hard time. If you take a step back and you center in on knowing why you're doing the thing, and sometimes it takes looking back on reading your notes or your journals on why you're doing the thing, which admittedly I did and I have done and I will continue to do, even with reminders, you can see the signs that it's working. You can see the signs that it is meaningful, and you can feel that reminder in a very real way. So I am very excited to be in a place of, I suppose, centeredness, a place of calm, a place of peace, recognizing all that, moving forward and moving through just stuff and just life. So I want to circle back on some kind of overall thoughts and moving forward for those listening in, as far as what I would encourage people to do, knowing a lot of the listener base, for everybody, uniform services or not. This is a reminder, an invitation, a challenge to give grace to yourself and to others, to be patient with the process, to be mindful and then purposeful in what you're doing. And knowing that the small steps, and sometimes the small steps are literally giving your permission to hit the pause button and reflect and then move forward with attention, as infinitesimal as it may seem, those small steps lead to big, important changes. So that's the first piece. And so for the different groups listening in, for applicants and prospects, those that are interested in entering first responder work, and that's why you're listening, that's why you found this page or this podcast, it is to stay curious, it is to stay patient and continue that intentional grind, right? Stay hungry, stay humble. That'll get you most of the way. Trust the process. And I mean, not just the hiring process, but I mean the process in life. I mean, timing is everything. Things happen for a reason. There's always a lesson to be learned in whatever the thing is and how you're going through it. So ask yourself, what is the lesson to be learned here? What is the lesson that I can learn from this really difficult person in my life? There's always something. For the rookies, all those things do apply. And I mean rookies in the most endearing way. Like it's not a condescending thing. It's just where you are. And it's a fantastic place to be, where you have all this opportunity. You have your whole life and career ahead of you. I would say do those things I just said, but on top of that, I would say have fun, right? So again, circling back, be patient with the learning process and yourself. If you take a moment and you pick the brain of somebody that you look up to or work alongside and just ask them about the time that they remembered when it was fun. And I think that in the right time and place, most people would probably have a huge grin come across their face and recognize that, yeah, there were some good old days. And I want to challenge us beyond legislation and policies and things like that of why it made it fun. I would challenge and venture to submit that the good old days were because you had all this opportunity, mostly in growing and learning, and you had this thing that you'd worked so hard to get to, and then now you're here and you have all the power to do all these amazing things in the world, in the community, and you're just scratching the surface. That's no small thing. That is a big deal. And so recognize that you are currently in the good old days and cherish it. Don't worry about it, but have fun with it. And to those that have a few more years on, whether it's, 5, 10 years, mid-career, if you want to call it that, listen to that last piece, right? Like, think about how you can get back there. I think oftentimes we can feel this kind of vicarious, like positively vicarious way of mentoring, seeing that excitement in somebody, seeing the little pieces connect in someone's understanding, or like an actual process or a tactic or an investigation, see that proficiency take hold, and then be proud, be excited that you get to be a part of that. And then in doing so, you up your own game, right? You up your own level of understanding. I would also challenge you to find the fun in growth, and there's always something, right? A lot of people after a handful of years, they get complacent, and we all know the bad way. And what I mean is more just like the passive way, where you're not getting lazy, you're just, you're kind of just in the groove. And there are benefits to that. And what I would say is that because you have that proficiency and you have that kind of autopilot groove at times, think about where you can allow that extra bandwidth that you've afforded through your proficiency to go into a new endeavor. So think about how you can elevate, how you can be a game changer in your own personal development, and you can be a game changer for your team, for your unit or crew or organization. And some people might think that means like taking on more literal responsibility. And yes, there is responsibility and ownership with recognizing you ever want to do better. There just is. It's not to say that you need to take on an official position or promote. If you do, then that's fantastic. That's a very clear way to do that officially. But what I mean is like think outside the box. Think about what thing would help you and your team do the job better, whether it's a program, a resource, a practice, just a concept that you can start focusing in on and, starting some brainstorming sessions, write some ideas down, pick the brains of your crewmates, pick the brain of your boss. Think about how you can be indispensable, right? You can be that linchpin, to kind of steal that from Seth Godin's work. But that book, shout out to that book and author Seth Godin, just thinking differently. And that was a book I was introduced to, I want to say probably 5, 7 years ago. And it really flipped my narrative on how I wanted to look at myself and what I could bring to the table, and really lean into being me, right? Highlighting and building upon my natural strengths, being myself in a kind of a new, I suppose, a freer way. And I absolutely grew as an individual and a leader and a contributor. So think on that. For everyone, I would shift this notion of like how we're always busy. I mean, I kind of nodded to it a couple times where life just happens. The crew's busy, family's busy, hectic things. And so it's hard but necessary to take pause. I would challenge us all, and I'm trying to do this, literally verbalizing this with people, but rather than responding and feeling like we're busy all the time, I want to make the shift to like productive. What are we doing that's productive? What are we doing that's helpful? It's progressing the needle in the right direction. We're moving forward. We're moving better. And sometimes that's getting stuff done. Absolutely. That's great. But getting stuff done in a meaningful way is way better than busy for the sake of busy, right? Like we all know the term busy work. That is not a rewarding work to be a part of. That is not fun stuff. So yeah, let's shift to productive. And then also recognize that aligned with the earlier parts of the conversation, taking pause, resting, just reflecting, downshifting at times can be extremely productive. We all know the metaphor, the notion of making sure we don't redline, right? So taking a pause, not taking a step forward for a little bit so we can take 5 steps forward, next week. Like that's fantastic, right? So recognize that investment is a very real thing, whether it's concretely like resting and sleeping more and investing in that, or if it's just allowing yourself some mental space and not feeling you have to do, work on whatever the thing is all the time. And trust me, I'm verbalizing this because it's an intention I have and a work in progress for sure for me. In closing, I kind of want to challenge you all. What does this evoke in you? Is it a mindset thing? Is it giving permission? Or is it something concrete? Like, through that whole, let's see where we're at, 24-ish minutes. Out of all the things Eric said, I recognize I've been delaying on signing up for that gym membership, or I've been delaying on training for that half marathon I really want to do later this year. Today, I'm going to do something for that, right? I'm going to stretch, I'm going to go on a quick run, and I'm going to make sure I sleep at a reasonable hour so I can get some good training in tomorrow. maybe through this whole conversation, a little monologue, I suppose, you intend and you recognize how you need to get your finances squared away, right? You have tried to do it on your own, all these things. So you are going to hire somebody and you're going to set up an appointment to start getting that squared away, start resolving some debt. Maybe through all this, you know that through the busyness of life and kids and career, you and your significant other are just putting each other on the back burner in some way. You're an autopilot, and it is recognizing that you are going to sit down at dinner with both your phones to schedule a date night, right? To figure out when for sure you can get a sitter, when for sure you'll get it in the books so you're committed to it, and you will hold each other to that. And then you quickly put your phones on the other side of the room, and then you focus in back on each other, right? So it's that intention to commitment to action, right? John Kelly, shout out. This is the year for action, so let's get after it. So in closing, yeah, take those little notes. I would love if you're willing to share them as specific or vague as you will. What was helpful in this conversation? I am so excited for all this. I mean, episode 200. That's a handful of chats. That's a good bit of time, whether it's me and or most of the time with guest or guests. I think about where we are at as a society, as a profession, a community. I think we're on the upswing, and that is entirely because we are committing to getting better. If we all just gave up, then we'd be giving up and we'd be in a really low place. But for everyone listening in, you are committed in whatever role you have in the community, whether it's law enforcement or not. You are committed and you are doing the work. You're taking the time. You're giving the reflection and intentions. Hats off to you. I think in a lot of ways, back to where this started in 2020 and all of that absolutely catabolic noise and energy to a lot of the motivators, whether it was my own reflections and close calls, whether it was the absolute people-based, value-driven leadership that I observed through my career in a host of places near and far away, whether it's the example of some of my colleagues and mentors and friends and family that are still right alongside me. So much I appreciate your, I suppose, belief and your shared connection and alignment and values and example. And, you know, those that we lost. And we've all lost somebody or somebodies. And to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what we have and the time we have, right? No time wasted. And legacy is absolutely a focus and parlayed into what we continue to do with the people we care about and how we do it and certainly why we do it. So I will leave you with that. And remember, with the haters, a closing note for the haters that just want to be those crabs that might cling on and try to drag us down, as it's easier said than done. Remember, as I have to remember or be reminded literally really recently, but if that negative dissenting opinion or person is not someone you would go to for advice, then pay them no mind. Pay them no mind. If you're not going to go out of your way to seek that person's advice, and I know for a fact nobody's going to seek the advice of trolls. So with that, stay positive, stay patient, stay focused, stay grateful, stay humble, stay hungry. What's one more? What is it? Oh yeah, stay gritty. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Blue Grit Radio. As always, support this community by subscribing, giving us a 5-star review, and following, liking, and sharing posts on Blue Grit Wellness on Instagram. You can reach me there or email me at bluegritwellness@gmail.com. Be well and stay gritty.